Alright guys, I know what time it is, you know what time it is, we all know what time it is. It is about Sunday at noon, because that's when these always come out. It's time to talk about another Premodern deck. This one, this is going to be a good one. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a good one. This one's MACHINEHEAD, baby. That's right, you may remember this deck from back in the day. This one's sweet. This one's real sweet. Alright, so this is an old school, one of the mid-rangey kind of aggro black decks. This, actually, fun fact, this deck was one of the last decks to actually be able to play Dark Ritual in Standard. That's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. That was Masks Invasion Block, because they reprinted Ritual in MACHINEHEAD Masks. That was the last time they reprinted it. So yeah, well then they printed Cabal Ritual in like Odyssey, but obviously that's a little bit worse most of the time. So, anyways, this deck was able to play really sweet stuff like Blaze Inspector and Void, cool stuff like that. Actually, this deck doesn't play Void, although I could definitely see it playing it at some point, because it's obviously a pretty unique effect, pretty powerful, and I like it. It's kind of where the deck got its name from, was like all these old invasion block cards like Urza's Rage and Void that had like these like machines on them and whatever. And MACHINEHEAD, of course, is a sweet metal band. So there you go. That's the genesis of that of the name. And it's like the Dead Guy Ale deck that I did a little while ago. It's basically pretty much the same thing, more or less. A little different creature base, of course, red instead of white. But you get to play Bolt, which is great. So instead of just like occasionally stalling out against weird stuff, or like they got you with a ensnaring bridge or something like that, you can just double bolt them or whatever and just not have to deal with that crap. So that's sweet. So yeah, being able to play burn spells is sweet. Obviously, you get some pretty sweet stuff in the sideboard. Stuff like Price of Progress is pretty sweet. Big fan. Um, but yeah, and in each it's very similar to Dead Guy. Plays in a very similar way. Sideboard differs a little bit. This one's a little bit more aggressive, of course. You get to play red. But instead of Plow, of course, you get Terminate. And Terminate's good because you don't really want them gaining life if you can, if you're going to be bolting them. So that's kind of nice. But each deck has their own pluses and minuses, and I would say mostly it's in the sideboard, other than like being able to play Bolt instead of Plow or whatever. So what does this thing look like? Looks like this. This is what it looks like. Um, Nothing that you would not expect. Maybe a little bit of spice there with the main deck Withered Wretch. I like it as another 2-drop, and of course it does a pretty good job of taking cards out of the graveyard. Pretty nice, pretty sweet. A little bit of sort of like pre-boarding a little bit. Then of course the Unearth, which basically counts as another dude, whatever dude you got in your graveyard, as well as, well, I guess it doesn't get Scuda, but if it's dead, of course, you can cycle it, which is really nice. And then, stuff that all looks pretty much what you would expect. Duress Therapy, Edict, Terminates, Bolts, that kind of stuff. Get to play FTK, pretty nice. FTK is a sweet guy. And of course, your mana is a little bit better than Dead Guy, because you get to play fetch lands, and of course you even got the invasion tap lands, which are pretty nice. I'm not sure about the number of these. I think the mana in this deck is pretty close to what is optimal. I'm not sure how many mountains you want and how many Urborg volcanoes you want, and how many swamps you want. But this is probably pretty close to what you want. Deck's a little bit slow, so having the Urborg volcano is not a big deal. So, and the sideboard, of course, you get stuff like typical red hate against like the blue decks and stuff. So you get Boil, play Empire Blast here instead. We got the Therapy, Vicious Hunger against red decks, Choking Sands. I like that as additional disruption. Of course, it even deals additional damage. So if you got stuff that's just not as good or whatever, you can take them out and put the Choking Sands in. I think that's kind of nice to have a little bit more mana denial in addition to the Wastelands. Dystopia, of course, there's tons of different black hatey things on like white and green and stuff, but I like Dystopia. You can rid it out. I mean, you could do, there's all sorts of different things, but Dystopia sort of answers all that stuff in one neat little package, so I think that's pretty good. And I've played with it before, and obviously it's very, very powerful. Um, and this deck, since we're a little bit more aggressive, we can pay the life, so that's not a big deal. Haunting Echoes, of course, I like against any sort of grindy matchup. Any matchup's going to go long. Crypts, of course, more graveyard hate. And of course, Engineered Plague for our tribal friends, or frenemies. For boarding in cards against them, it'd be like, they wouldn't really be your friends, they'd be like your unfriends. Yeah, they'd be like your evil ex-boyfriends, and there's a lot of them. But yeah, so I like Scuda in here. It's a good guy to red out, and that's pretty sweet. Forming a 5/5 is pretty good. And it's not like there's a ton of bounce spells around, so you don't really have to worry about that kind of thing. Plague Spitter, of course, pretty sweet guy to red out. Good against all the weenie decks, which is nice. Already, if you watched my Dead Guy Ale video, you already know about Nantuko Shade and Hypnotic Spectre. Already talked about those guys a little bit. But again, just efficient black creatures, more disruption, and in Shade, or excuse me, in Hypnotic Spectre, and then Shade, of course, is just a monster late game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's tons of different cards you can play in your sideboard. So, but the main deck, maybe something like Unmask might be better than Therapy, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe some 1-drops. I don't really know. Not 100% sure. But yeah, maybe Unmask instead of the Therapy. Or maybe some sort of mix. I like Unmask. That's a good card. So maybe instead of like an Unearth and the Withered Brush, play 2 Unmask. It's an idea. Anyways, so what we got here? We got a lot of disruption, of course. All sorts of disruption. That's, I mean, pretty much more or less same as like Dead Guy. Good late game, pretty good late game, because you got lots and lots of. You're a little bit slower, so you got a little bit more power in the late game with your, Flame Tongues and Scuda, Phyrexian Scuda. Totally forgotten, of course, Nantuko Shade. So sort of just like Dead Guy, got good late game. Get to abuse Ritual a little bit better because you have more cards that work better with Ritual, like FDK, and where you do it on your second turn. Then you have Scuda, of course, you play on second turn, rid out Hypnotic Spectre or Plague Spitter or whatever else. So yeah. And the red cards seem to go pretty well with black because you don't have any weird problems where like you can't play some of your hate cards because they'll hit your other color. Like obviously black is enemy colors with white, so sometimes you have a little bit of, you couldn't play Dystopia and Dead Guy, unfortunately. But they pair pretty well with the red cards. So you could play something like Sulfuric Vortex. So that'd be pretty powerful, pretty good. Whereas in white, you can't really. You have like your Exalted Angels, which you wouldn't be able to if you had like Forsaken Waste in play or something like that. So they tend to synergize red and black a little bit better than black and white. So whereas white and black can answer like more permanents like enchantments and artifacts, red and black just pair better together, and you can play more punishing style cards, Price of Progress, Flaring Pain, that kind of stuff. So it's pretty sweet, and that's kind of the reason I like this a little bit more. Other than the fact that ridding out Nantuko Shades is really sweet, but deck plays just a little bit better. The mana is a little bit better, and you don't really have to worry about being cut off too much, and you only really need 1 red mana to basically do anything. So that's pretty nice. I like Urborg Volcano. When was the last time I was able to play with Urborg Volcano? It wasn't Commander, because there's always like almost always tap lands that do something else. So like Urborg Volcano, gosh, maybe it was like really early in Commander, like when Shards of Alara just came out and I'm playing Jund and I'm like needing every single non-basic land or whatever. Hard to say, but yeah, the cards are cool. They work really well together. There's so much stuff you can play. I like playing Boil. Boil's sweet. Play Flash Fires, of course. Anarchy. That's a good one. I mean, shoot, there's so many good cards to play. Red has a lot of really good hosers and anti-hosers like Flaring Pain, you know. So, gosh, you know, you just do whatever, pretty sweet. So, that's Machine Head, pretty similar. This, you know, a little bit slower than the other. Both this and that guy are a little bit slower than the other, like super aggressive decks like Hatred or something like that. Any of those spam in 1-drop 2-power zombie guys, or any of the shadow dudes or whatever. It's a little bit slower, but you get a little more power, a little bit more power. So that's kind of nice. So that's this deck. That's Machine Head. Can't go wrong. I like it. It's a sweet deck. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. Nothing too complicated here. I hope you enjoyed the deck. Hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.